Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Julia.
I'm Amy.
This is Women Worth in Weddings.
We're talking about 2025 couples.
Yeah, we are going into 2025 and we're going to talk about, expectations and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I know that once this new year hits, you are like, this is my year, we're getting married, I got to get everything into full gear, get things checked off. So I want to kind of go into, like, if you're starting your planning process, you're getting married this year, what does that look like? What do you need to do? Expectations of your vendors, expectations of yourself. And so I think that really the first thing is to figure out what kind of wedding that you're going to have. Is it not discounted, that's not right. What is it? What's the word I'm trying to think of? A budget-friendly wedding? Yeah, budget-friendly wedding. Or are you going all out? Is this a luxury wedding? Because I do feel like a lot of couples don't realize that you're hosting an event when you're having a wedding.
Yeah.
And so I think that just kind of figuring out what type of event you're hosting is key, because then your expectations will get met throughout the planning process.
Yeah. And also expectations for what your welcome party or rehearsal dinner is, and your brunch and your after party, and understanding, like, if you want to do all those things, you're hosting multiple events in one weekend. So I think some couples get shocked about the sticker price for, all of these different things. They're like, what do you mean it's going to cost me an extra $10,000 to have a welcome party? And it's like, well,
there's not a place that can just hold 80 people that will just let us come there. No.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when they want to invite their whole head count from their wedding. And it's like, well, then you're hosting another party. And that's why it's so expensive.
Yeah. So getting everything down on a piece of paper or on a spreadsheet or on your computer, exactly what you feel that you want, just brain dump it all, and then kind of figure out what that's going to look like. Are you a budget-friendly bride and you're going to DIY a lot of things? And in that case, you need to know, like, there's some expectations on you that's going to have to happen, and really being honest with yourself and knowing, is that something that you're going to want to do?
Yeah, I think it's hard because everyone wants to have, obviously, well, not everyone. I didn't have a big wedding, but like a lot of people want to have, a big wedding where they invite all the family and friends, and they have like this idea of what it should be. But weddings have just slowly gotten more and more expensive. So it's like, just like everything else in life right now. And it's like, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like the show where you either have a wedding or you put a down payment on a house, like that's very realistic now.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, on average, people are spending around $30,000 and up on a wedding, depending on...
And $30,000 is hard to work with.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So let's talk about... So we talked about getting your expectations in line, putting everything down, like who's going to be assisting with what. I know the money conversations are hard, but if your family has said they're going to contribute, what are they contributing? Really get your budget in line.
Yeah.
But let's talk about finding budget-friendly. If you are that budget-friendly bride, a lot of times when we have a couple that hires us, they're like, we don't want to spend a lot of money on certain vendors.
And we've had the low budget vendor in each section. We've experienced it all.
So let's go over each vendor and the cons of trying to skimp or negotiate pricing for those vendors. So
I think the best one to start with is a cheaper venue. And I know there's cons with finding a super cheap venue, but I mean, that's like the best way to start, honestly, finding a cheaper venue, because that saves money for all the really important, like, people that could literally ruin your day.
Yeah.
Like, you can, get your husband come out and mow some grass at a venue if they're not mowing their grass, but, there's just some stuff that you can't cover.
You can't go cheap on certain things. And so when you're booking your venue and you're like, okay, this venue is only X amount of money, that's so much cheaper than all the other ones, you need to make sure that you're asking what they're providing. Yeah,
definitely looking at what they're providing. You have to honestly do a lot of research when you're finding a venue. Finding somewhere that has like overnight, accommodations. There you go. there's just so many factors, but I think a good one to start with is your venue.
Yeah.
I wouldn't skip out at a wedding planner because we've heard horror stories of really cheap wedding planners. If you're getting a wedding planner for $300 or something like that, they might be just starting off and they might be like really good, but you're getting the experience of a $300 wedding planner.
Yeah. And the expectations of your wedding planner, if you're going for a lower budget wedding planner, you can't expect a luxe experience.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem is every couple that we've seen like try to go cheaper on certain vendors, they still expect that vendor to be top notch, and you're paying for experience. Like, that's just what it is.
100%. And so don't try to budget out less for your planner. Mm-hmm. And then also your DJ. Yeah,
DJ is
crucial.
Huge. I tell people every welcome call I have that we're talking about a DJ, I say your DJ can make or break the whole entire night.
100%.
It will leave a bad taste in every single guest that leaves. Like, if he's horrible or he's cringy, it's going to be something that they're going to remember.
Yeah, and they're going to talk about it.
They're not going to be like, that DJ was horrible, but you know what really stuck with me was that food. I mean, they might, but like I would personally, because I'm a foodie. Yeah. But it's just like DJ is someone that's with you until your send off. And so if they're 100%. Cringy, then it's going to be what they experience for the longest period of time. They talk to your DJ and they hear your DJ's voice more than any other person
100%.
At the wedding.
Yeah. And so when you're looking for a DJ, make sure your DJ is participating in ceremony, that they're emceeing, that they are
providing their own setup, which means they don't need. I think a lot of couples that do a cheaper DJ, the first thing I ask when I talk to that DJ is, do you need a table and linen? Yeah. Because, most of the time if it's a cheaper DJ, they need a table and they need a linen. They don't have their whole entire setup.
Right. And so you really deep diving into what exactly your DJ is providing, and if they are doing separate charges for certain things, to make sure that you truly understand that and, not just looking at the sticker price.
Yeah, I think there's some packages I've seen where it just doesn't make sense. Like, why I get it, it's like really cheap, but like your DJ is leaving before your send off, and I don't think you realize that.
Yeah.
So
that's not a good look.
Yeah.
And then of course there's food, and that's a big cost to all weddings. But questions to ask when you're trying to save money is, yes, they are cheaper, but what does their setup look like? Do they have servers that are serving the food? Are they busing? So these things, you don't want to say, oh my gosh, they're only charging, $3,800 for a low country boil, and it's amazing. But they literally just drop it off, and your guests are getting their own food, and then no one's bussing the tables. And so you can't expect your wedding planners or anybody else from the venue to bus your tables. It is the responsibility of your
wedding planner. Unless they're just starting off, they haven't figured it out. This is not something they should be doing. They're not going to be getting all the food off the tables. That is not our job. There's one wedding planner typically and 100 plus people. That does not make sense.
Yeah. And so making sure that, you are asking, like, hey, do you have bussers? And sometimes we have couples that get a food truck, which is amazing, but then they have to get a couple people to come in, and there's companies out there that do like the bussing and cleaning up, because most time food trucks don't do that.
Yeah, I think the important thing, moral of the story with caterer, is make sure they're bussing, cleaning up all the food. If they're serving the food, because that's what typically happens wrong, is when the last table that goes doesn't have enough food, is because there wasn't servers to portion out everything. And then, what the setup looks like. Are they going to just place some stuff down on 10 pans with no heater below it and be like,
good luck, we're gone.
All right, bye. Screeching down the driveway. And I'm like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And do they have warmers? There's so many questions. And I mean,
food poisoning is also a thing too.
Yes. There's so many things for catering. So just asking those questions. And then, your photographers and videographers, just really understanding
that's a scary thing. No, that's a scary thing, because if you get someone super cheap that you found off of Facebook, they have the power of simply disappearing. Yeah. With everything captured. Just be like, never hear from you again.
Yeah, and we
that's
see
scary.
horror stories like that in the Facebook groups about, I can't get my my photographer to send me my pictures. It's been, 8 months. And
Yeah. And I remember in the very beginning when we first started, someone got ghosted by like a videographer or something like that. I'm like, it's scary.
It is scary. So making sure that those people are reputable, that you understand their style, that you want that style, that you've gone on their Instagram, that they're legit, that they have contracts in place. Every single vendor, you should have a contract in place.
Yeah. Every single vendor, both parties need to be reliable in that contract.
Yeah. Next is flowers. Flowers are big because I have personal skin in the game because we do florals.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of brides that say, I want to save money. This is not very important to me, so we're going to get our flowers from Sam's Club or Trader Joe's. And you have to understand where these flowers are coming from. These are loss leaders for these companies, which means that they know they're not making money on these flowers. Trader Joe's knows that that's not where they make the money in their store. So these flowers are not coming from reputable places sometimes. They're covered in pesticides, mold. They're sitting there. You don't know how long they've been there. And so when you start prepping these flowers, if you know how to prep the flowers, they wilt really fast. They're just gross. And so, and same with, Sam's Club. And so what happens is that no one's responsible for these flowers.
Yeah.
So if they come and look really crappy or they're wilted or whatever, you have no throat to choke. There's no one, Sam's is not going to come back out. Trader Joe's is not going to come out and be like, oh, your flowers are crap. Here, let me replace those for you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not. And then people don't realize how much time it takes to do flower prep and to put everything together. It's scary when I hear someone say they're going to try to DIY their centerpieces. Yeah. And I'm like, who's doing it? I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Or make sure they're there really early in the day. We've had couples show up in the very beginning, it was buckets of flowers. They're like, here you go. We're like, what is this? We're not florists. We weren't at the time. We were like, what do you mean we're doing your bouquet? What do you mean?
So you, again, expectations, knowing the roles of your vendors and what each vendor does and doesn't do. And flowers is not the responsibility of anybody but a florist. If you're DIYing your flowers, then you are responsible for those flowers.
And there's a reason you need to be licensed florist. It's not easy to do.
Yeah, it's not.
It can get kind of frustrating when it's not looking like the Pinterest photo. It's because you're not licensed. You haven't taken the proper classes. Yeah. It's a thing. Don't expect your wedding planners or, your family and friends to be able to pull off the most whimsical, beautiful centerpieces and bouquets. You guys are DIYing it, so you just know that just be happy with what you get.
Yeah. And then I guess cakes, you can definitely go and save money on your cake through
Publix. I had a Sam's Club cake, and that was one of the best cakes I've ever had.
Not to knock these amazing.
If you want something elaborate, you got to go to an actual baker, and it's going to be really expensive. That's just if you want something super elaborate. If you're just I'm good. I just want a cutting cake, or even a 3-tier cake with some flowers on it. Publix can do that.
Yeah.
And it's still really good.
Yeah, it is.
Granted, I've had some Publix cakes come in, and I'm like, it's leaning. Yeah. It's leaning a little bit. It's fine. We'll just turn it and But stuff happens. I would never travel with the cake. That's terrifying.
You're paying for experience. You're paying for their expertise. And so I think what's frustrating to me in the wedding industry, just knowing what it takes to play these different roles in the wedding, is that you don't know what it takes to be these people.
Yeah, we've had a conversation before. I'm like, I wonder who has the most unstressful job as a wedding vendor. And I went through each one, and I was like, no, because I wouldn't want to do that. That's scary. No, because I would never travel with the cake. That's terrifying. No, and I was like, everyone's got their
own stress.
Yeah, everyone's got their own stress. It's hard.
It's very hard.
So
it's a hard industry. So
make sure you're having some reliable people, because it is hard.
It is, for sure.
Yeah.
Did I miss any vendors?
Rentals.
Yes.
I think getting cheaper rentals, the only thing I've seen is things come in really poor quality.
Yeah.
It looks like stains on the linens. Linens are wrinkled. Plates are broken. Things are dirty. We've had farmhouse tables.
Your linens. Don't get your linens off of Amazon, please.
Yeah. And every couple that I have ran into, I've heard it a lot recently. People want to save money on table linens. Totally understand. You see the cost. You're like, whoa, per linen, that's crazy. Amazon, oh, I can get a pack of 20 for $10. But then you don't realize that you will be ironing those linens for so long. I had a couple due in September and she was like, I wish I just rented them. And that took forever. That was so hard. But then there's a couple that show up and it's still like in the plastic. And we're like, I hope you know, like these aren't going to be perfect. So every time I hear it, I'm like, just so you know, you got to come in with them already ironed because it takes like multiple days to like iron a bunch of linens.
If you're expecting your wedding planner to steam and iron your linens for you, they need to understand that from the very beginning because that package is going to reflect that work.
Yeah.
And so
it will not be something that gets done day of, and most wedding planners won't do it because again, that's not the job of anyone but a rental company.
Yeah.
Now that you're taking the rental company out of the picture, who's in charge of these wrinkle linens?
Right.
You
now,
are.
we will steam things for you.
We will. We steam dresses and stuff like that, but you can't steam.
Something super messed up, like with your linens and things like that. We're there to perfect things for you.
Yeah.
But I just, again, you know, what is your wedding planner? What is all your vendors responsible for? And really understanding that is because the worst thing that can happen is your expectations not being met throughout the planning process, and then you feel let down and frustrated. So knowing, like, even when we do our welcome calls, like we're like, hey, this is not a planning session. This is just a welcome call. We're just wanted to, you know, welcome you to the team. Like, we're so glad that you're a Juju Lee couple. Make sure there's no like urgent questions. And then you get off the call, you schedule a planning session, you get off the call.
Yeah.
So it's just, we set these expectations.
Yeah.
And then when you do that, then people aren't disappointed.
Yeah. I think the expectations is just like who's in charge of what can get really complicated when this is, you know, they're not doing multiple weddings. This is their only wedding typically.
Yeah.
And they just don't know what they don't know. They're like, why can't, like they have like these things I want to be hung all over the ceiling. And I'm like, who's doing that? Because I'm like, I don't have a big ladder. Did you bring someone with a big ladder?
Yeah.
No. I'm like, oh.
I'm like, does the venue allow us to do that? Like, it's just the whole thing. It's really having these conversations and not springing things on your vendors.
Yeah.
And it's also the vendor's responsibility to lay out what they do and get out of these gray areas of like trying to be the planner when you're the photographer or trying to be the planner when you're the DJ. Stop that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah. I think just expectations is huge, making sure everyone understands what they're in charge of. And I think that's also a huge, like you said, responsibility of a vendor. Like, don't show up as a vendor if you know multiple times this has been an issue in the past, and don't show up and just be like, where's my table? I'm like, did you tell the couple you needed tables? No. I'm like, how are they supposed to know, you know?
Yeah.
Like everyone needs to set expectations.
Yeah. And read your contracts.
Yeah.
Because usually their needs are in their contract. And so when it, even to the smallest thing of they need a hot meal, if it says in their contract that they need a hot meal and your caterer is going to give them a cold ham sandwich and a cookie, that's not good.
Yeah. No vendor wants to work 12 hours and then be given a dry sandwich and a bag of chips, especially when you're watching everyone eat like some really good food. Yeah. Personally, I'm like going through that line.
Right. Really, I mean, we get it. But feed your vendors.
Yeah, feed your vendors. We've had to order pizza for vendors multiple times this fall season.
Yes.
And that is horrible.
That is horrible.
It's a horrible thing.
It's not nice.
No.
Don't do that.
No.
Okay.
Well, that felt good to get off our chest.
We have a lot of... I'm like, actually, that was very cathartic for me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I feel like we are missing vendors for sure. There's officiant, but usually it's just a friend, and that's like completely fine.
That's fine.
Because your wedding planner can help them and DJ can help them.
100%. But really, hiring a planner and hiring a full planner and a partial planner is going to help with everything that we just discussed.
Yeah. It's when you don't have a planner or you're hiring someone for just day of, all these things are solely on you as a couple.
Yeah.
So.
And you can't get mad. You cannot get mad at the end of the day, at the end of the race, that everybody's reaching out to you and contacting you and getting frustrated because you are the wedding planner. You planned your wedding.
Yeah.
I've had so many couples in the past when we would like they would be like, I don't want anybody else reaching out to me. And I'm like, that's
not how it works.
That's not how it works. They're going to because you are the contact.
Yeah, it's really hard for, I think, specifically brides just to not like tap out, getting closer to their wedding. They're like, they don't answer anyone. But that's so important to answer everyone as your wedding is getting close because everyone's making sure that everything's checked off. They want to make sure, you know, all the things. Are you reading my?
I did. I'm sorry. I went away. Sorry.
You just want to, you know, it's just important. Communication is just so huge. Making sure from the get-go what your wedding planner is doing, what they're in charge of, and not just being upset that they didn't do more than what their package is, you know?
I mean, we've had it. We will do month of planning. We don't do day of, but we will do month of. And we always go over and beyond because we know that I'm not going to walk into a situation where I didn't know that you had a couch and a chandelier being delivered. Yeah. So we're a little over.
And please don't surprise your wedding planners with these things. Like, oh, I didn't tell you?
Yeah.
We have fireworks. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's happened to us a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
But, okay. Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it felt good.
Yes, it did.
Good job, team.
So good. Well, thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions, comments, or just some feedback, put it in the comments below.
Yeah.
Make sure you like and follow, and we will see you next time.
Bye.